It's the Dadnarok After Show. Now, here's Chris and Sean.
Welcome back once again to the Dadnarok After Show. This is Sean.
And it's Chris.
And we are back to talk Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, Season 2. This is episode 4, entitled, I don't
Eldest.
know. Eldest. Oh, is that
Eldest.
Yeah, Eldest. Not Elvis.
Not Elvis. Not elder. Eldest.
Eldest. Not Ernest.
Because he's scared stupid.
Oh my God. How funny would that be? Jim Varney as Tom Bombadil. Anyway.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah, we're here to talk about episode 4. Pretty first thoughts. Your first thoughts.
Before we jump too far into that, we're Dadnarok. We do this stuff every week. We covered the Lord of the Rings right now. We covered the House of the Dragon in the past. I think we're doing Silo in the future to give you guys a little behind the curtain here. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. This is an open conversation between everybody that's watching. So if you're here, drop a comment. We'll bring it up. We'll talk about it. We'll enjoy it. And your interaction makes our show better. So if you're here, please do so. So my first reaction to this episode.
Okay.
I was split on a lot of the things that were happening. I actually enjoyed the story between the Strange and Nori Poppy and meeting Tom Bombadil. That was fun. The action with Galadriel and Elrond.
Yeah.
That was fun, but I am so over this back and forth pouty match. Like, who's going to have the bigger, pouty match between Galadriel and Elrond? It's tiring. I'm watching it and I feel exhausted when watching those two go back and forth.
Yeah.
And then Isildur and Arendelle looking for Theo and everything and seeing that was fun. I didn't think it added much to the story per se, but I thought it was fun. So I was all over the place during this episode.
Yeah, as I was watching it, I kind of appreciated that it didn't take a lot of time to introduce like the Tree Ents and Tom Bombadil, and some of the different aspects of kind of deeper Tolkien lore. It's just basically was like, hey, we're rolling with it. But that being said, like, I wonder if you're going to lose a bunch of people that aren't. I mean, there's tons of viewers out there to watch this show and aren't even as well versed as you and I are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're kind of probably in the mid range as far as how much we know of Tolkien's world and Middle Earth and the history and the lore. So I was, when I was watching it, I was like, wow, they're not even taking time to like introduce what these Tree Ents are. They're just having a conversation with them, and you know what I mean? Because I guess you're just expected to remember Treebeard from the movie.
No, from Treebeard. If you don't know from Treebeard, well, then they're like, I can't help you. That's
Right.
pretty much what they were telling you.
Yeah. And there was a female Ent, which the Ents, the women of the Ents have not been around for a long time. During the time of the Lord of the Rings, they kind of disappear from the earth, which is a big sad thing. So to see one actually, on screen was very cool. They were done really well. I mean, they look.
Oh,
great.
that whole thing between, the Ent wife that was like the flowering tree, and then you had the male Ent who looked like he just been through. He's seen things. Put it that way.
He looked like a Van Gogh painting. He was all over the place.
Which it was fun seeing them when they realized when Edar realized that Theo wasn't taken by men, but it was the Tree Ents. I loved how he was like, you had to know what to be looking for to realize what he was looking for, because he looked down and he's seen the tree petals, and then he was kind of following them, and then he's seen them again, and that's when he basically let on, hey, this is what's happened. Watch it.
Yeah. One more thing about the Ents as far as their look and feel, like the sound editing of their voices when they spoke. I could hear, like, I had my surround kind of turned way up and like further up than I usually do. And it just like vibrated the room, them talking, which is what it should be. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It was great sound design too. So big fan of how they were portrayed. I don't know if I like as much how quick and easy that conversation was. You know what I mean? Like Aaron Deere was pretty much like, "Hey, sorry, and we like you, and I promise we won't try."
Yeah, we'll hold hands and make kissy face.
And then they were like, "Well, okay, well, we'll just let you guys go. See you later." And that was kind of it. Like that scene, I don't think that scene played out as well as maybe the writers or director would have hoped because it just played off as a little just too easy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he started speaking in a different language that the Tree Ents understood, which I
Yeah.
can kind of get that. I can wrap my head around. Okay, he knows this, and he seems he's like he's being truthful with her, which like you
Yeah.
said though, it just seems like it was they were doing it to move the story along, which makes you think that
Right.
the Tree Ents are going to play a part later in the season for some reason, in some manner again. They just need to get them in now so we know what they are and who they are when it all hits the fan later this season.
Yeah, it's interesting. The season so far is moving at a very fast pace, which is a different feel than, and we remarked it on that last episode when we talked about the first 3 episodes where the pace is just quickened, it's hastened. And I'm wondering if it's a behind the scenes thing, where it's like Amazon's thinking like, well, maybe we had plans to have this go 5 seasons and maybe we just want to do 3 because don't want to spend all this money for a show that's like not really earning its keep, you know what I mean, as far as the amount of money that they're putting into it. And if that's the case, you're scrunching down story pretty quick and, if you get ahead of it, it's not as bad, because you can still flesh out a story and tell a whole story,
Mhm.
but it's not going to play out in a way that would play if it took its time. You know what I mean? As far as this, where the tree ants holding these people captive in this conversation, it should have been a lot longer, just for the point of fact of the characters. Like tree ants, there's some deleted scenes from Two Towers where the poor Merry and Pippin were trying to get them to go to Isengard,
Yeah.
and they had a commiserate, and they had a council where they just went back and forth forever.
Well, Treebird
And
said these conversations take a long time in this language, or
yeah,
something like that. He actually mentioned that while they're talking to each other, there's nothing that's going to happen at any other pace than their pace.
yeah,
And yeah, come to think of, I didn't even think of that and compare what Treebeard said compared to what we just watched,
yeah,
because this here happened way too. Now I don't know if it's because they're younger here than Treebeard would have been,
yeah.
so it was much earlier in the time, or if it's just a pacing thing. Like, okay, we can't go at a Treebeard pace here. We have to ratchet up a little bit.
I think there's um a determination by the creators to try to get this thing going faster. And it's maybe a little bit of both. Maybe it's like, the first season kind of drug on, so we need to go to quicker pace, which is fine. Um or it's a little bit of both where Amazon's like, "Hey, we're not going to give you guys 5 seasons."
But even
So
this episode, like you mentioned, like we were both talking about it, how like the tree episode, part of it need to be longer.
yeah.
Uh, but I felt like it some of the parts drug. Like
Yeah.
I was in spots in the show this episode, unlike prior 3 episodes, where I felt like they were there for too long
Mhm.
and they didn't keep moving. We'll talk about Nori, when she found the other Harfoots. There was parts in that where they were there too long. Or even when they went and seen Tom. Tom was fantastic and I loved everything about
Yeah,
him.
good actor. Yeah, good choice
But I
there.
feel like we were in parts of the episode with them together too long. And
Mhm.
they could have cut this episode down lower, but they wanted the length. They wanted that hour length.
Yeah. Another thing with the Isildur portion of the show is his relationship with the woman. What's the
Estrid.
woman's name?
Estrid.
Astrid, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How that went back and forth as far as just like, I'm cleaning smudges off your face. We're looking at each other lovey-dovey. Um, don't trust her. She's actually got a brand. We're gonna cuff her. Take these cuffs off. I just saved you out of the mud. oh, we're cool again. Oh, we're about to kiss. Oh, my dude's back, and never mind, we're not gonna kiss, and I'm gonna walk away. Like just the back and forth. Like I don't know if that was completely necessary. It just felt like you said. I mean, it was a little repetitive. Plus, it was just like, okay, okay, we're here. Maybe just one back and forth, not just like it felt like ping ponging. As far as what are we doing with this
Yeah,
character?
what is happening? And I feel like there's got to be more that happens with it. They can't just throw a character like that in there 2 episodes and
Yeah,
just yank her out because the other lack of a better word. I think they call them wild men. I was
yeah,
gonna call them wildlands because I'm rewatching Game of Thrones, but but just because they've returned and I guess her whoever she's betrothed to
something.
it is back. So dude's back. So Isildur is out. I mean,
Yeah.
he's pretty much resigned himself to that. So I guess we'll see. Unless dude gets off and then he's back in the game again.
Aaron Deer, though the elf did have, I think he had a good episode. Showed how badass he is getting out of that slug mud monster thing.
Oh, that was so stupid. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
you didn't
That
like it?
no, I'm so tired of things like that swallowing people and then them cutting themselves out from the inside out. That was one part of the episode. I was like,
Not a fan.
not a fan at all. I was like, we could have done something different here, or just not done that. Period. What was the purpose of it?
Right. Yeah. I think the mud was more of a concern than the giant
Yeah,
slug creature.
yeah.
You know.
One of the things
Um.
that dwell, creatures that dwell on the other side are unseen, or something like that. They said,
Yeah.
kind of like what Gandalf says when he's fighting the Balrog on the other side.
Right. I think I lost your camera. You stuck?
Oh wow, that is a goofy look. I am gonna bounce and come right
Yeah.
back.
Just come right back. But yeah, some things during the episode. Whoa, I'm big. Some things during the episode didn't play out, I don't think, as well as it could have. But we're gonna wait for Chris to get back here before we move on to some of the other characters that he has down in the notes, including the stranger and Galadriel.
I'm back.
Oh, there you are. You're back.
Back again.
Um, I I think it's time to move on. One more thing about that story is the parting of Theo and Arendir. Do you think they're? I mean, it seems like they're done now, right?
Yes and no. I feel like their characters are going to come together again.
Yeah.
And I feel like the whole like angst, the teenager angst is boy, we're having an interesting show. Uh of him yelling at him saying, well, I don't need you anymore. You've served your purpose. You're not my father. Go away.
Yeah.
And then the fact that he came back and basically rescued him from these tree ants, which was cool. Well, you mentioned the stereo being up. When I was listening to, you hear many other men yelling in like tree
Mm,
prisons. It wasn't
yeah.
just those like 5 there.
Right.
So there was quite a few of them all caught up, in a bad spot.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think there's more to tell here. I think there's more story here with Theo and Arendir. I think it would be weird to um I think maybe they can separate for a little bit, but I think we have to get back to it eventually. So maybe they start off and be interesting to see what Theo does because Theo thinks that he has some unfinished business on
He
his side of
has
things too.
promises he said he's got to withhold. Now, what are these promises?
I don't
That's
know.
what I'm curious about.
Yeah,
It's like he's referring to something that he may have, done, but when did he have time? Is it
right,
something on the other side that when they do come together again, he's with Adar? And
right. Is it? Yeah, that'd be
I'm
interesting.
leaning that way because I really, really think they're hinting at him becoming the Witch King. I really think that's what they're hinting at,
Yeah,
but it's so early at it.
we'll see how that plays out. Reminder here, y'all, we are live, and Kahina Lauren has something to say on YouTube. Goodness me, I want your beard. Look at that. I'm sure she's talking about yours. Yeah. Thanks.
But let's go. Let's talk about the weakest part of this episode for me.
Which one?
The Galadriel Elrond part.
Okay.
What did you take from this? Like I liked like the what were they called? The bull rights, and
Well,
is that what they
the
were?
whites,
Barrow
the
whites,
whites,
barrow whites.
Barrow whites, yeah,
Yes,
Barry Whites.
You gotta drop your voice low and start talking.
Oh my God, the Barry Whites. Okay,
uh, I I thought they were cool,
yeah,
and the fighting was fun with them, but the immediate like recognition from Elrond, oh, we must find their weapons and kill them with their own weapons because our weapons are garbage against them. I don't get that he's that smart. They haven't told me he's a good politician.
yeah,
They haven't told me that he sits down and he reads and he knows histories and he knows, what will defeat enemies that he has never seen before.
right.
I never got that feeling from him. And I felt that was not earned in this portion.
Yeah, the way you describe it, it reminds me of a character like Hermione Granger. You know what I mean? Like we know she is a bookworm, and she constantly is somebody that studies up on this stuff, and maybe is seeing the thing for the first time in real life or in front of her, and knows exactly what to do because she's always had her face in a book. I don't know if we really get that same sense with Elrond. You're right, so I'm not sure if that played out very well.
Yeah,
Oh, another comment here. Just joined. The show has been super disappointing to me, but still looks for some good things. Barrow Whites appear 1,000 years later. Oh, I see. So
that's
Athena
when what
is
I've been
way into the
hearing as
lore.
well. Like the
Yeah,
complaint of it has been they're here too early.
yeah. But there could be other Barrow Whites, I suppose.
Yeah.
Maybe they're different.
Yeah, we'll
It's kind
see.
of like the hobbits. They're not really hobbits.
The Harfoots or
they're
their
halflings. Yeah,
yeah, what else would they called them? They was Starros or I don't know.
they're descendants of the hobbits, I guess, right? That's how you play that off. Um,
Yes, the other ones are stores, but they're all the same.
yeah. I mean, that's where we're going with these. There's apparently these halflings are all spread across Middle Earth, and
They all end
eventually
up
they
in
kind of
they make the Shire.
they find their promised land, right? Land of
Yeah.
milk and honey and cold streams and soft hills. And but
But
anyway, getting back to Galadriel and Elrond,
so yeah, you
you
have the ring. And
yeah.
Elrond's like, I am not making any promises or we're not taking any, anything from this ring. If it says basically what he's saying is if the ring says not to do it, we're doing it.
Whose side are you on with this? Because Galadriel's just like she trusts herself. I think she trusts herself more than she trusts the ring. Like she understands the ring is what it is.
You know what side I'm on? I'm on let's move out of that portion of the story and keep going. that I can see both their sides. I can
Yeah,
both sides have legitimate reasons to follow.
yeah,
Elrond's scared of the possibilities that they're being twisted.
yeah,
Galadriel's like, there's no way he could have had any power over it. We need to use this because it's our best defense against him.
yeah.
I'm just tired of the woe is me. I'm the leader. You follow me or you go home attitude. Or I'm
Oh
not going
yeah.
home because I don't want to see all you guys dead, including you. I'm like, what are you guys, 17? I mean, they're like fighting like,
This is the CW drama version of the Lord of the Rings. Come on. It's good.
yeah. Uh, okay, we'll keep going.
What else here? I'm going through your notes. Yeah, protect the ring, blah blah blah. It just seemed you're right. I mean, the fight scene was cool, the effects scenes were cool. Once again, it felt a little truncated as far as Elrond just pulling the solution out of his butt a little bit. And I mean, they were in they were about to get, they were surrounded by these things. And, in the last split second, Elrond just happens to know exactly what to do. It felt writerly. It felt once again a little short, a little truncated, and a little like you say, "Oh, we're stuck in this thing," but it's just like they are moving. I think you don't like the scenes that they have together, and you don't like. Well, it's another thing too. It's like the relationship, the banter is not working.
yeah.
Whether it be between Astrid and Isildur, the back and forth, it's just like okay already, or the banter between Galadriel and Elrond is just like okay already. Like we don't need I think the setups, I think the I guess the sequences, where the environments and the things that they face are pretty cool. But the actual like relationships and conversations was a little lacking this
Yeah, I
time
don't
around.
buy the relationship between Galadriel and Elrond.
Yeah.
I think that's my biggest problem with their storyline. I don't buy that there is this history between the two, that they are really friends, that they do care for each other. They don't want neither of them wants the other person to die or be corrupted. That's what they want us to think, and that's
Yeah.
what they want, but I don't think they've earned it. I don't think they earned that last season, and they haven't given me anything to believe that that's truly what's happening here.
Yeah, I kind of feel that too. It's just like telling and not or showing and not telling, or telling and yeah, telling and not show. Anyway, whatever. They're telling us and not showing us their relationship, because this is the kind of dilemma that a fairly new relationship would have. You know what I mean? As far as just like,
I don't quite trust you, or you don't quite trust me, or yeah.
yeah, yeah. And if they've really known each other this long, they wouldn't really let that stand in the way. Kahina has a correction here for us. The stores are the river people where Smeagol came from. They love water. Guess the desert life makes them love water later. They're forcing origin story on everything. And we'll get that too when we get to the stranger.
Yeah,
We'll see what's going on there.
the stranger's gonna break the show.
Stranger danger.
Yeah, everyone's gonna be really angry when they come out and say who the stranger is, because the stranger, that character shouldn't be here for much longer. And they keep on hinting at who he is. They've called him giant elf, which is basically, I mean, you're basically calling him Gandalf right
Mm,
there.
Grand Elf, yeah.
Yeah, Grand Elf. I mean, there's so many the hints that they're gonna make him Gandalf, but yeah, it's gonna be weird. I'm not gonna mind it because I don't know that part of the lore, but I mean, I know so many people are gonna be upset about it. As long as they don't make the Dark Elf Saruman, or yeah, Saruman. As long as they don't make, because I've heard that they were gonna make him them, and they were
Oh,
already gonna
really?
yeah, and they were gonna have like a kind of a quarrel already, which we don't see that quarrel until the Fellowship.
Yeah.
So that's way too early.
Let's see. Kina says he needs to be Gandalf, which breaks the lore, but they seem to run it. See what the fans think. Yeah, I would be disappointed if it was Gandalf. They're just pointing. I wish, it needs to be the Blue Wizards. I think there's an interesting way to tell a story of the Blue Wizards and just have them be. I don't think it's probably going to be Gandalf because now they're kind of cheapening the thing where he's too much like Gandalf. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
This feels too much like a Gandalf origin story. Where if it was a Blue Wizard, it could have been something where he's just, he's a totally different character. He doesn't look like Gandalf.
He's getting
He
that
doesn't
long
act like
gray
Gandalf.
hair, just the way he's walking.
Yeah, it could have been
Yeah.
a new character that we could have appreciated, have been like, "Oh, hey, we never got to meet the Blue Wizards. Let's find out who this character is?" But it just seeing a Gandalf origin story is not as interesting.
They're trying to get as many casuals as they
Yeah,
possibly can. So if they throw something like that in, that's when they pull it.
yeah. Kahina says Gandalf arrives according to Tolkien in the Third Age and meets Círdan, who gives Gandalf one of the
One of the
rings.
rings, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that he gets one of those rings eventually too. Let's see. Anything else with Elrond and Galadriel? We can move on if you
Not
want
really.
to move on.
I
Yeah.
think that's that yeah, that is
I want them to get to Celebrimbor. Do you think next episode? Do they even get to Celebrimbor by the end of the
I think so.
season?
I'm one of those, I watch everything. So if you watch Beyond, it goes into a preview to next week, and then also gives
Yeah.
you a behind the scenes, which they've started, which they take, two characters and they talk about it. And it was actually the guy that plays Isildur, and I always say his name wrong.
Aaron Deer.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was those two during their interview, and it was a nice little fun little interview going back and forth. They were talking about the mud scene that I didn't like, but but yeah, I think we're going to see more from Khazad-dûm.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to get more from Numenor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they've got to give. I don't know for certain, but they've got to give us more for about the rings, the forming of the next set of rings.
Oh, and the men getting
Yeah.
rings too. Yeah.
So yeah, so I think they're going towards all of that. And now that Elrond's going back to let the High King know what's going on
Yeah.
with one of the rings, because we didn't even talk about Galadriel being caught by Adar.
True. That's how the show ended. That's how the episode ended, was her getting captured, which good. Hey, we're not I guess next episode we're not gonna have any back and forth with Elrond and Galadriel. At least we're moving on
That's
there.
a positive sign right there.
Yeah. Okay. Third and final
We can't
storyline
bury the
here.
lead here because Mr. Tom Bombadil.
Yeah.
That was
Tom
so
Bombadil.
fun. What do you think of his on screen?
Okay, well, I liked the actor. I like how he looked. I like how he was written, as far as just like being kind of above everything and knowing a ton. I pictured him, I think when he was in The Hobbit, he was a little bit more fun, a little not goofy, but just like a little bit more not as
Whimsical?
yeah, a little bit more whimsical. Which, that may be fair if you're playing to Hobbit folk versus, the stranger. Maybe your audience is a bit different, so you act a bit different. But as far as an introduction, I was hoping it would be more like an introduction that is in The Hobbit. And I'm curious what Kahina thinks of the introduction of a live action Tom Bombadil, which we've never gotten before. What did you think?
I enjoyed it. I mean, I didn't get the Tom Bombadil, you know what I mean? His little goofy little song that he's got playing that we know from the Fellowship.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was kind of always low, kind of, singing to himself. But like the wisdoms, they were going back and forth. He always had something to say, which was fun hearing it come from him.
Yeah.
The fact that he's like, it was just a good time. And I love the nod to the book where the actual stranger got caught by the tree rather than, I think it was Frodo that got caught by the tree. And Tom comes in and rescues them both, tell the tree here to feed, dig deep, drink water, go back to sleep type things. You shouldn't be awake.
Yeah.
And he just kind of rips them out. Because my wife, she had no idea what was going on. And I'm like, I know what's happening. I'm waiting for basically a rehashing of the book, just with different characters. And sure enough, he comes in and she's like, hold on. He just got pulled out? What's going on here? The tree ate him.
Kahina loved it, actually. Very good. And he's a sticking point of the books. Many stop there. Like to tone down version. If they ever make a long form TV series, this sort of Tom can work. Yeah, I do agree there. I think maybe it might have been a little bit grating if we did get him more whimsical, because then if it's your first because he's got room to play now, you know what I mean? Like you can expand out from how they introduced him in this one.
Well, there's a part of seriousness that I don't think we really seen in the books either, which I thought, because he said you're not the first first wizard to meet with him. So he talked about the dark wizard. I forget exactly what he called him, because he's considered the eldest, and how he said he was there when the first raindrops fell, and he'll be there, the stars and all that. Those a lot of really fun things. Tom was there when before the river and the trees. Tom remembered the first raindrops and acorns. He knew the dark under the stars when it was fearless. I love that little, like, he stepped back and because we don't truly know how old he is. He's given us an idea right there. So he's gonna be here essentially the length of time.
Tom Bombadil is so this is kind of dangerous to add him. I think that's part of the reason he was left out of the movies, is because he's such a different character than every other character on the board. And besides the fact of pacing and just like the fact that he kind of comes in and goes, it would be jarring in a movie. But to do a show, and if he's going to be more than one episode, we have to learn more about him. You know what I mean? When you start learning more about a character, it kind of becomes less special. You know what I mean? Because right now, as it plays out, he's just a theory magnet, where the Tolkien fans have just been theorizing and speculating on the Tom Bombadil character for all these years. And for the show, if you're going to have a character that's playable, then you have to kind of somewhat define who he is and what he is. And I'm worried. I'm worried what they're gonna do with him, honestly, that it doesn't kinda, like, ruin it.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly where they're going to go, but yeah, when the answer here about Tom Bombadil not caring about the ring, yeah,
Mhm.
that's we read a little bit of the books. I'm working my way through some of them, the audio wise they're long, uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's
Well,
going to be
some people think he's like the Tolkien Middle Earth god that's just kinda, like, walking around in man form, like, on because you see, like, he's got, like, wizard magic, but it's, like, effortless, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
basically, the elements just kinda listen to his every whim. He could just, like, flick his hand and just, the fire, you know, blooms out. You know what I mean? Like, he tells a tree what to do, like and yet he also comes at it and, like, everything I don't own everything, like, everything has its own ownership and owns itself, but at the same time, he just comes off as this all-powerful
I think he
being and,
even
like
said as much. Like, I don't control anything. Everything controls themselves,
yeah.
or something down those lines in the book itself. Not the book, but in the show. So yeah, I just the back and forth and how he said he's not the first Istar to
Yeah.
eat by his fire. So he
Yeah.
talks about the dark, the dark wizard, which we got to figure out more about him. Like, what's this dude actually about?
Tolkien meant Tom as an enigma, which he certainly has been. Some think he might be God. And Tolkien said it is the doll his children plays with and left it as an enigma, which I prefer. It's like, not to bring it back to horror movies or whatever, but like Michael Myers in the first Halloween, you know what I mean? He's just like a escape mental patient. You don't know why he's doing what he's doing. He's just like evil incarnate. He's the scariest in that first movie. And the more you learn about him, oh, he's going after his sister, or oh, this or that, or some cult picked him up. Okay, this and that, and the more they gave on the lore of Michael Myers, the less special became, and it kind of be like, oh,
Hmm.
okay, well, it's not that great. The more mysterious a character is, it's like the cooler they are.
Do they
So
have the nerve to give us basically an episode and maybe one more, and then just when the stranger leaves, Tom's gone,
I think that's how you have to play it. Like, yeah, he doesn't.
and we never see him again. This is one of them. He teaches this stranger how to become worthy of wielding a staff. Because he said
Right.
he's had it once and he wasn't worthy, and he said you weren't worthy yet. Because when he went ahead and conjured up that big, dust storm,
Yeah.
and that staff just went ahead and just disintegrated in his hands. So I think he's going to teach him how to wield a staff, and then once that happens, he may start. It may be one of those things where the stranger's there, and he's looking around, and Tom's gone. He wanders back home because he says he's not typically. He came here just to check to see if all the water is gone.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a vacation home for him. This isn't where he lives. He's just here temporarily. And
Right.
knowing that things were lining up where the stranger was looking for the stars, he wasn't looking for the staff, he was looking for Tom.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what his role is gonna be because this is episode 4. There's only eight episodes, right? So
Yeah, we're
5,
halfway
6,
through
7,
this
8.
season.
We're
Yeah.
halfway through already. I think Tom is gonna be just, coach. It's gonna be a training montage to
Oh, we love a good
watch.
training
Oh,
montage. Give us
I
some.
love a good training montage, and I've never pictured a Lord of the Rings training montage, so this will be fun. Um, but yeah, I think we'll definitively at the end of whatever arc we have between him and Tom Bombadil, not only will the stranger get his staff, but I think we'll have an answer finally on which wizard the stranger actually is. Kahina says it might be worth thinking about that. The Lord of the Rings started out as a sequel to The Hobbit, so you have more silly things like Tom, then it goes into the epic. Yeah, that's fair, especially that first book, right? Fellowship, where that was out of the 3, that's the lightest one to introduce us back to the world of the hobbits and stuff, and, in the Shire, and yeah, that's a good point. Um, I don't know, let's see, Stranger, Nori oh, yeah, there was Nori we kinda touched a little bit on the halflings, and
Yeah, and the
I don't know if
Harfoots
there's
and the
much
stores.
yeah, there's not
Uh,
much to say
are
there.
they gonna follow them? Because the Dark Wizard is now kinda at them. Will this, like, group of stores follow Nori and Poppy? And now they'll have they would be the people that are leading it, kinda like how they left their group, and they're gonna wander back, and they're gonna find So if they're all going to wind up back and actually establish a Shire, they have to leave and kind of start going north towards, to follow that map that they showed.
I think that's probably is the case because we get the threat looming of the Dark Wizard, and the guys are just like, when we come back, we're gonna have the wizard with us. You
It's
just
like,
better
why do you
watch
think
out.
we wear these masks or something like that?
Yeah,
I was
to
like,
be
well,
intimidating. I don't know.
It's like, what's going on with your face? Then
You
you got
can't.
leprosy or something? Come on.
Probably, yeah, you're really ugly underneath.
Yeah, masks cover a lot of ugly.
That's what we needed, a smart ass hobbit to tell them whatnot. But yeah, I think that's probably where we're gonna go, is that the stores are gonna have to head on out. And it's interesting. I think when we know the hobbits in the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit, they have a lot of interesting last names. I think Store might be one of them. Store and like Proudfoot, and which is close to Hardfoot. Like, so I don't know if these different tribes come along and the way they kind of intermingle and eventually like become one unit, if that
Well, I
tradition
think
kind of lives on.
the name of what they were calling it, I don't remember exactly. It was like when they were looking at the map, and she said, "Well, we never found the whatever. We're homeless. We're still wandering." I
Yeah.
think that word that they're actually looking at, that's in Tolkien, actually means Shire.
Oh, okay.
So
Oh, interesting.
once they all come together and they find those hills and they
Yeah.
dig them in, days, and they build their houses, and all that happens. So
Dig them.
I
What's fun about um these halflings, the Hardfoots, that I never really got with the hobbits themselves, is just the ability to hide. Like, it's an interesting thing to think of this race of people that are so underfoot and so into their own world that to even come across them is almost impossible. You know what I mean? Because anytime a man or a wizard or a giant or orcs are marching about, the hobbits just hide themselves in nature so well that it's almost like the Smurfs or something. You know what I mean?
you got to trip on them to find them.
Yeah, exactly. And we've already got like almost countless instances of that, of Poppy and Nori kind of doing that, which is so interesting. And I don't know if that's something that, of course, Sam and Frodo, they had the elven blanket or the hood that kept them hidden. It was like kind of camouflage. They used it once when they were spying on the orcs. Which, but it seems like this race of people don't need the magic to do that.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. We got going on here. Yeah, he said
Let's see. Stores are a tribe. That is where Smeagol came
Smeagol
from,
came
the river
from.
folk. There you go. And which is odd in this show, the river folk of Smeagol live in the desert, said they will learn to love the river. Which is another odd origin thing. Yeah, that is odd. But yeah, I think they're not long for living in the desert anymore.
Yeah, they won't be there much longer. And definitely that they're getting, like you said, they're being threatened by the Dark Wizard. There's no
Yeah.
reason for them to stick around now.
Well, I
I
think
don't
you're
know.
stuck again. You're frozen, but
Oh,
I think
come
we're
on.
about done anyway.
What in the world? This is.
I think you look incredibly interested in what I'm saying, so I'm just gonna keep talking.
with some crazy voiceover.
Yeah. So that's gonna do it for episode 4 of The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, with us here on Dadnarok After Show. We certainly enjoyed you joining us, Kahina. Please come again. We will be back next Friday to talk about episode 5 of The Rings of Power. Hopefully, this is a show that you enjoy. We enjoy watching it. I mean, you and I really do.
Yeah.
But we'll let you guys know if there's an episode we think is outstanding versus an episode that just feels like, ho hum. Like, we'll get into the ins and outs of like the
I want more
story and how we feel.
Khazad-dûm. I want
I do too.
that's for me the highlight of this
Yeah.
this show is everything that's happening in Khazad-dûm.
Yeah. Hey, we got a sub out of it. Kahina, thank you so much.
We appreciate it. We love it.
Yeah, thanks. We will see you next week. And until then, what? Precious? You say something. Even though you're frozen.
My precious.
There you go. See ya.
It's the Dadnarok After Show. Now, here's Chris and Sean.